It's the Harris Football Podcast with your host, Christopher Harris.
Welcome! Hey, everybody! Welcome in! My name is Chris, and this is a show about the collected works of Homer, and I do mean Simpson. Hello there! What is going on? Thank you so much for listening. This is starting to get pretty real. A new season, really getting close. We're getting training camp started this weekend. The blurbs are popping. I love to get a blurb that says, Malik Neighbors, oh baby, let's go, not on the PUP. Immediately followed with a blurb that says, beware, just because Malik Neighbors isn't on PUP doesn't mean he can do anything yet. Ah yes, it is the silly season. That's why we do shows in July, to try and prepare ourselves for the avalanche, the onslaught of quote-unquote information, and the hot takery that ensues. I personally, probably you, can never believe how loud and stupid it gets, and yet every year it gets louder and stupider. And we will do our best not to get too persuaded by silly stuff throughout the next month. All right, I'm going to start out by saying, oh baby, I have book tour dates and locations, an actual book tour, which will, calling it a book tour stupid. It's just going to be regular Harris football meetups that I've done a lot of times. Just a little bit tacked on at the beginning, where I will read the attendees something from my new novel, Pound Foolish. But Chris, didn't you have a new novel just recently that came out that you made me buy? No, actually, other voice in my head. The last time I published a novel was 2018, 8 years ago, believe it or not. That one was called Tulsa, and a lot of you read it, and that was so lovely. Thank you very much for that. This one is called Pound Foolish. I will have information about how to pre-order the book very soon, and I'll probably, ask you, because there are some bestseller lists it would be really good to be on. But the difference also this time is that in the case of Tulsa and my other books, that wasn't me publishing it. The publishing industry now is such that I'm going to put it out myself. I just threw up my hands. Never done that before. Cumulative Press is publishing it. Cumulative, that's what I want to say. And I'm also arranging my own tour, although, of course, that's very much not true, because in each of the cities I'll be visiting, a Yacht Possum has secured a venue for me, so they've really done the work. In all the cases, it's going to be a bar. I will, of course, publicize these a lot in the coming weeks, but you might as well, since it's decided, I could tell you now. It is a Pacific time zone thing. Sunday, August 23rd will be in the Seattle area, actually down in Tacoma. Monday, August 24th will be in Portland, Oregon. Tuesday, August 25th, Las Vegas, Nevada. And Wednesday, August 26th, Phoenix, Arizona. The events I'm going to guess, it's not totally set, but 7, 7, so you can go after work. That's the idea. I'm working on all the details about how to get books signed for anyone who wants one. I'm sure we'll have that option. We'll figure it out. I just don't know the details yet. The book itself doesn't come out until 9/1, until September 1st officially, but we're going to make it happen. There will also be an event here in Los Angeles. That's the one I don't have complete clarity on, but we will soon enough. And it'll be right after. It'll be after the other group. You can feel free to write it down. You don't really need to, because as long as you're going to listen to other shows in August, believe me, you're going to hear those details again. But it's official. Seattle, Portland, Las Vegas, Phoenix, and then LA. If you're going to be in those towns, come hang out. I think it'll be really fun. A little reading over a PA, and then just shooting the breeze like any other meetup that we've done in many cities, and they've always been fun, and just come away loving everybody, and it's super cool. So I really think it's just fun to meet the Yacht Possums. I love them. And we had a lot of volunteers across this country and other countries to host reading events, because I mentioned it back in April on the show. I am committed right now, right here. I'm going to write everybody an email who wrote in and suggesting, I'm sorry I couldn't take everybody up because, just obviously it's a tough time of year and I'm going to stay closer to the West Coast. But thank you to everybody who volunteered. Your generosity truly knows no bounds. Like 50 people write in and say, hey, I'll help you figure something out. Just an incredible, incredible audience. You can expect an email from me thanking you this weekend. Okay, and also, of course, Almanac Day. Whew, this is a busy month coming up for the old possum captain or whatever I am. August 3rd is Almanac Day, the first edition of the Almanac. That's a week from Monday. Holy moly. The Almanac is in very good shape, though. I think you'll love the art. It's hilarious. Hopefully the writing is just as funny and maybe even a little bit insightful. You can pre-order that bad boy right now if you like at harrisfootball.com. Since we're talking about the AFC West on this podcast today, how about we read a profile from that division of someone we probably won't talk too much about otherwise later in the show. You've already seen the title of the episode, so you know it's Lad McConkey. His pod nickname is listed right there. He's the Lad Young Lad, and his profile will read a little something like this. I told you before last season I had misgivings about ranking the Lad Young Lad. He wound up wide receiver 14 on my list, and that was low. Overall, in ADP, he ended as the wide receiver 11 and number 26 overall, so mercifully, I didn't have him on any of my own teams. But I also didn't call him a bust. And oh boy, did he ever bust. How does a young player lose 16 catches and 360 yards between his first and second seasons? Well, sometimes he gets hurt. Sometimes he simply wasn't as good as we thought. Sometimes a new player on the same team is better and more undeniable. Sometimes he loses his quarterback. And sometimes his entire offense leaks oil and seizes up and begins leaving little bits of itself all over the highway. We probably don't know the right answer yet for McConkey. His 2025 campaign wasn't particularly marred by injury. He was limited in training camp with ankle issues. He showed up on reports around midseason with an AC joint and a calf. Toward the end of the year with a foot. But he didn't miss games. By NFL standards, that's a pretty clean bill of health. If his wonky season happened because Quentin Johnston and 33-year-old Keenan Allen got in the way, sorry, then McConkey's not as special as anyone thought. And as you saw up in Justin Herbert's profile, I still think the QB is mighty good. So maybe McConkey isn't great, or maybe the 25 Chargers left a massive stain in the road. I'm betting on the latter. I think McConkey's upside was overvalued in drafts last year. He went on a spectacular run toward the end of his rookie season, but even at the time, I expressed reservations about him as some undeniable force. He's mainly a slot player, doesn't consistently beat press coverage, won't blow you away with size or speed. And yeah, the next thing out of someone's mouth who describes a wide receiver that way usually says, but that's what they said about Amon-Ra St. Brown. But there just aren't too many ARSBs or offenses that gear everything around a slot guy. Yet, I do think McConkey is better than his 25 numbers. He absolutely super quick coming out of breaks. He's clever breaking off an option route and coming back for the ball. There are times on film, like Week 8 against the Vikings, where they did match him up one-on-one on the outside and he roasted poor Jeff Okudah for a touchdown. Or like Week 16 against the Cowboys, where he got a wheel route from the Dallas 25 and just ran past everyone for a bomb touchdown. And mostly, I think once we got to Week 4, LA's offensive line just ruined everything. I'm giving Herbert a mulligan, and I think McConkey deserves one too. I can't draw a perfect straight line and tell you, oh baby, this is exactly how Mike McDaniel will use McConkey, because good play callers develop their systems around new players. Grant those twin monster Chargers tackles a season of health. I think Herbert delivers, and I think McConkey will be the biggest part of that, even if it's not quite as big a part as his advocates predicted last summer. And then, it just so happens, this is a profile that also has a cousin Josh says. So Josh weighs in a little on our small friend, the Lad Young Lad. It says, this is the year I start my cutie phylum. McConkey is a charter member. He's like one of those little oranges you can fit in your pocket. I'm out here seeking out the cutest and best under 6-foot receivers, buying up all the stock in their football cards, and making tiny little shrines to them. And that really does start with McConkey, and I'm going to have him on some fantasy teams too. You fix that offensive line, you give Herbert a real coordinator, the Chargers go right back to humming adorably. So the cutie phylum, we're working on that. We're workshopping that for Josh. He'll forget he said it, though. Like, he'll be on, in 2 weeks, and he won't remember. Maybe he will. I don't know. That's a very fun profile anyway. I like Josh's contribution. I think in general you have fun with the Almanac. That is, the Almanac is kind of the sunshiny part of my football writing for the summer, and Pound Foolish. So did I say it's a sequel to Slotback Rhapsody? Kind of. Slotback was my first book that ever got published when I came out of MFA school, before I ever covered any of this stuff for a living. And if you want to get Slotback, you can hear me read it. You can get it anywhere you get books. So Mouse Morrison was the main character of that book, and Mouse is one of the main guys in Pound Foolish as well, but and like it's the same universe and it's the same team, but the scope is just different. It's wider. There's more what you consider to be like main characters. I think there certainly is lots of fun and funny football stuff in there, but yeah, also sometimes you can feel a little conflicted about being a fan of the NFL, and maybe part of Pound Foolish will speak to that as well. Anyway, I can't wait for you to read both of them. I can't wait to meet some of you at the events when they happen at the end of next month. And thank you all for so much support.
Today's kickoff.
Okay, on today's show, as I said, AFC West. We're going division by division. We're trying to tune up our ears to not take the bait on the incredible volume of nothing that's about to land on top of us, and hopefully be surgical about what we pay attention to. That'll be a look at the Broncos, Chargers, Chiefs, and Raiders. To help me do that, one Mr. Andrew Behrens, Paywall Andy himself, will join the show. I think you'll have fun, and I thank you again so much for listening today. We are sponsored today by ZBiotics. You've heard me talk about it. If you drink alcohol and you still haven't tried pre-alcohol from ZBiotics, you have nothing to lose. I had a poker game here aboard the yacht last week. Jeff Erickson was here, not Eric Jefferson. I was drinking alcohol. You better believe I drank ZBiotics first. They have a 100% happiness guarantee, so you should try it. It's your first drink before drinking, and when I drink a ZBiotics first, I feel way better in the morning than I have any right to feel. It's the world's first genetically engineered probiotic, so it tackles rough mornings after drinking. It converts the toxic byproduct that alcohol creates in your gut to something less harmful before it gets downstream. I could not recommend it more. What a great discovery. Try it out before your fantasy draft. You can give it out as party favors. Truly great. Go to zbiotics.com/Harris and use the code Harris. You'll get 15% off at checkout. If it doesn't work for you, get all of your money back. No reason not to try. 15% off. zbiotics.com/Harris. Code Harris.
Today's guest.
Yeah, everybody, it's Stinky at the Pooh.
Am I the poo? Am I the poo?
Where you have to have a take, baby.
Stinky.
Baby.
Ain't gonna be the last time I refer to myself as the poo, I'll tell you.
WPOO, the stink.
So that's something that the people haven't heard who listen to the free show and don't the main show, I should say, and don't hear the Yacht Club, because yes, indeed, it is the Pooh. Hi, Pooh. What's going on?
So good. Hey, great to be with you, Stink. Great to be here with all the Poosters. Love you guys.
So Josh Purnell, who is a Yacht Club subscriber. So let me take a step back. For those of you who aren't subscribed and are on the main show, I'm so happy to have you listening. It's totally fine you're not subscribed. I'm trying to do most of the business over here on the main show, but there are some things that we talk about over there in the off season. We did a couple of actual episodes of Stinky and the Pooh, the mythological call-in talk radio show that I invented in my head several years ago on the main show, and assumed.
And then we put it behind a paywall. Yeah, perfect.
With Paywall Andy. And and I'm Stinky and you're the poo, and yeah, so that's a thing. And then Josh made us a theme song. So no, so you had the genius idea on your reemergence on the main show to give us the Stinky and the Pooh theme song. Anyway, it is Andy Behrens, and many of you have been listening to Andy and myself speak every single week. Some of you have not, however, and so I welcome you back to the show, Andy.
Thank you. It is a pleasure to be here.
So you're going to help along with the divisional preview here momentarily, but let's do a couple of pieces of business. One is that on the Yacht Club show, we did a little promotion where people, if they donated to Fantasy Cares, they would get nominated to be entered into a drawing to be in a Scott Fishbowl league with me. And I just wanted to square the circle. That obviously ended a couple of weeks ago, and lots of people are listening who don't know that they didn't get picked. I assume probably if you made a donation and you didn't hear, you probably know that you didn't get picked. We have already done that draft, me and 11 Yacht Clubbers, but we raised thousands. We raised thousands for Fantasy Cares, and I never took a moment to, because you actually announced that on a Yacht Club show that I wasn't on,
right.
So I didn't get to say thank you. So, I mean, we were at thousands of dollars for an amazing cause. It's the first time Scott has ever done that, where he put together a division consisting entirely of one person's, content ecosystem. Terrible words. And, and like said, hey, if you can get enough people to donate one group, then we'll just put 11 people in with you. And that happened, and we did the draft. It was great fun, and just wanted to, for those of you who didn't get picked, I'm sorry, but amazing behavior. I'm so happy that you did that. It's a great cause. Thank you so much for doing it.
Yeah, great response from everyone, and huge thanks to Scott for whatever. Maybe it's not that difficult to throw it together, but I think giving us an entire league to fill was pretty cool.
It was lovely, and thanks for Greg for facilitating the whole thing. It was Greg Berthum's entire idea, and he's amazing too. And thank you for that. One little order of business is so the Yacht Club persists. The Yacht Club it's been Mondays here all the way through the off season. This coming Monday there'll be a Yacht Club episode, and then as we get to August, the Yacht Club is moving to its normal home of Wednesday, and so the Wednesday version of the main show will be behind a paywall again, and so it'll be 4 free shows per week with ads, and then one with myself and with Andy on Wednesdays all the way through August, and then all the way through the season that doesn't have ads and is for Yacht Club subscribers. And we made a little change to the way you can subscribe if you're interested in doing it, which is if you'd like to be an annual subscriber, if you want to buy the full year to start, you get a little discount. So if you go to either thedeepshot.com, Andy's blog, or you can go to harrisfootball.com, there's a way in to click a subscription, and you'll get to a page that gives you the option between monthly or annual. And so we have a lot of people who are currently monthly because we never had the annual before. It's if you'd like to switch over, it's very easy. You have to manage your own account, be logged in, and once you're logged in, I don't know, if you can't figure it out, you can email me, heyharris@harrisfootball.com. I do a lot of tech support for this stupid thing anyway, so I don't mind helping. But yeah, so you can subscribe annually, save yourself, it's $50 for. Is that right? $50 for the year? From
$50 for the year, yeah, or $5 a month, yeah,
and $5 a month. So it's basically save $10.
Yep.
And so if you want to change over your current subscription, go do it. If you want to start a new subscription, you want it to be annual, go do it. And you can find at thedeepshot.com, or you can go to Harris Football as well. What do you have going at the Deep Shot? We're here in the last week of July. Is this the last Friday of July? Not quite, but almost. What's the plan here headed forward at the Deep Shot?
Yeah, I just posted, I I mean, it's boring. It's kind of boring content. I just post a bunch of dynasty ranks over there, and I'm writing up a few tight end thoughts right now that hopefully I'll have out the door before I leave for the Fantasy Expo on Friday. Who knows? Hard to say, but obviously content is about to ramp up. Dalton Del Don, myself, doing the usual preseason thing.
Okay, cool. When you mean today when you leave for the Fantasy Football Expo? That's what you mean, right?
I'm trying to change my. Yes, that is. Yeah, that's what I meant. Stink.
Right, today. We're not recording this day before. I don't know what you're talking about. All right, so let's do the AFC West. We're gonna do previewing the training camps. You've only been doing this with me, picking a division for something like a decade, so I'm sure you won't stumble. And anytime anybody does stumble in these July episodes, what glee you have when texting me saying, hearing you yell at your friends over fantasy football is one of the great joys of my life. That's what you always say.
We were just talking about this. Like, oh man, I was listening to the Kluge episode, and Dave was going down a path where he's talking about EPA and like missed tackle rate, and I'm like, no, Dave, stop. Dave, come back to the light.
People get, there's obviously something in the culture now that the moment anybody hears anybody disagree with anybody, there is just a certain segment of the population that says, that's so cringe, I can't listen. And every time it happens, I get emails, I'm canceling listening to your podcast, I can't do it anymore, why are you so mean? No. And whereas in that particular, it's not always Dave, but like in that particular case, I know what you're talking about. It was like 2 weeks ago and it was Dave. Do you think Dave for 1 minute was like, that was brutal, I can't believe it? Like, we laugh afterwards. Dave is the nicest person in the world. We're such good friends. He doesn't care.
Yeah, no. It's. I mean, it was so good. Also, I don't know. That's good. That's good discussion. That's how it ought to be. There ought to be a little bit of, we should not all be in the exact same place on everyone all the time. I mean,
our approaches shouldn't be the same.
Yeah.
And so, like, if I'm asking a particular set of questions and someone is answering us another set of questions, it should be perfectly okay for somebody to say, okay, but I want to put a little degree of friction here and say, that's all well and good, but I don't really care about that right now. I'm asking you about this. And then, yeah. So anyway, whatever. I'm not telling people who feel cringe not to feel cringe. You can't control it. You feel it. I think it's funny because trust me when I tell you that when Raybon and I argue over something, we're very, like, really good pals. You think Raybon cares? He loves it. He thinks it's funny. Mix it up, chop it up, as it were. All right. Anyway, so let's mix it up on some teams here in which we're previewing training camps. We'll give our takes. But also, you and I know each other's takes so well because we've been doing a show together every week for a long time. And that includes the Broncos backfield, which is where I'll start. We've just spent a lot of time in the offseason talking about J.K. Dobbins and R.J. Harvey, the 6-foot invisible rabbit. The biggest part of it that I'd like to discuss for right now is just we are where we are, and you and I are in a very similar place, which is we think R.J. Harvey is being overestimated by the NFL buying public, as it were, and probably by proxy, J.K. Dobbins is being underrated. And so I guess like a survey of the stories that we might get that could maybe change your and my opinion and change our ranks, or conversely, stories that the optimists for Harvey might require in order for them to change their takes.
Can I just give you a sample of one of the stories involving R.J. Harvey that I just happen to be seeing it right now. I have fired up the Pro Football Reference. I'm looking at his page, and one of the stories on the page is R.J. Harvey watching more film as he heads into year 2. Okay, that'll do it. All right, that'll do it. I mean, that's good, right? Like, throw yourself into your job. Everybody should. That's good for R.J. Harvey. you know this, and anybody who's listened to the Yacht Club shows know this. I'm pretty locked in on this situation. I don't imagine my own opinion of these two runners changing. I think RJ Harvey has a known role. I actually think anybody who, I don't know. I feel like maybe some of the enthusiasm has dimmed out there a little bit because he did get an extended audition second half of the season. J.K. Dobbins out of the mix. And, there was a little bit of touchdown deodorant to it. He kept scoring, so that was good. He was fine for fantasy, but it's not like he was a thrilling back. Nobody could have said so. The yardage totals weren't great. So I actually feel like a certain segment, like the futurists in the fantasy community who only ever care about what things are going to be like in 2 or 3 years and are never really focused on the current season. I kind of think they're messing around with Jonah Coleman already, and they're maybe they're over the RJ Harvey era, because I think it's pretty clear he's just not going to be a full workload featured back for anybody. He can be part of the answer. It's not going to be all him, but I feel like people are searching for ways to make Jonah Coleman a thing, and I personally think J.K. Dobbins is just too good for that.
Mm. Yeah, I think probably the right answer is how you started it, which is to say wherever you are is probably where you're going to stay without an injury. It probably isn't really worth wasting brain cells clicking on any articles about Bronco running backs and what people are saying about them and stuff like it. I think it's just a click discipline, ignore it, flush it, because it is a Rorschach test. It's whatever you want to see. Oh my God, yep. Jonah Coleman's being given the goal line in 7-on-7 drills. I'm in 4th round. I don't think we're really going to change. The only pushback I'll give you at all on the Invisible Rabbit people is that, at some level the fantasy production was still there. Once Dobbins was hurt.
Yeah.
And Harvey I 100%, you and I were watching these games as they were happening in November and December and going, how is he scoring? He's really kind of terrible at football. And the folks who want to believe in Harvey don't care. They just say Dobbins is oft injured. I don't even really believe Dobbins will be involved after September. And hooker by crook, Sean Payton, maybe I don't think Harvey is great, but hooker by crook, Sean Payton got him his touchdowns. And we can't argue. Every time in the red zone, even when Dobbins was healthy, when they were in the red zone, they would go to Harvey because Payton wanted to win his own fantasy game, maybe? Possible. But, that's neither here nor there. That all that is a reason, and I absolutely agree with your conclusion, which is to say probably your opinion is your opinion. And, there's no way to argue that the value isn't on Dobbins. Of course it is. No, I don't think anybody drafting Harvey where he's going to go is going to say, and I'm getting him at such great value. You're probably paying for him.
Oh yeah, and you're at least in the best ball world, you're having to take him so much earlier than J.K. Dobbins, who is a true afterthought and is almost certainly going to be the primary runner to begin the season for the Denver Broncos, and was really good last year. I mean, he was really good last year.
We are sponsored by Viore. So I was on a Zoom call Wednesday night with my buddy Nick, who might be listening. We were talking about the upcoming book tour, and I was like, I don't think I'll check a bag. I can probably make it 5 days with just a carry-on, right? And Nick said, of course, because you'll just be decked out in Viore for all your events. And Nick is exactly right. I wear so much Viore for workouts. Absolutely, it's all I wear. Moves great, wicks moisture, incredible. For softball, absolutely, I wear the joggers every game. Just for being in super comfy, nice-looking casual clothes, Viore is just great. I got the pullovers, the t-shirts, shorts. They got jeans, long-sleeve shirts. It is the California coastal lifestyle in some incredible clothes made with sustainability in mind. They use recycled materials. They have, as efficient facilities as possible. And really, the clothes are just great. You will love them. VUORI.com/Harris. You'll get 20% off your first purchase. 100% satisfaction guaranteed. I don't think you'll need it. You'll love the clothes. 20% off. VUORI.com/Harris. We are back with Andy, and we are just dipping our toes into the first team here in the AFC West that we wanted to talk about, the Broncos receiving core. I just saw, 2 days ago? It was 1 day ago, but we're pretending I'm recording this on Friday, that the Broncos are going to go 4 wide so much more. So there's a lifeline. Did you see the story?
Yeah.
What a lifeline for Tony Franklin and Pat Bryant. Phew, they're rescued because the Broncos are going to go 4 wide. Can I mention that last year Bo Nix threw passes with 4 wide on the field 15 times last year? I believe it was 15 times, which was tied for the second most in the league, along with Caleb Williams, and Justin Herbert had 3 times that many, 46. Do we really think that this is a major part of the? I think I'm teeing you up with an easy one here. This one's a 50-mile-an-hour fastball. Are you going to be paying attention to the number of stories about 4 wide formations in Denver to rescue secondary receiving weapons?
Yeah, we can put this one in the same category as preseason stories about how some smallish running back is going to see a lot of time in the slot, right? It's just one of those. It almost never happens. It's not gonna. They're not gonna. The Broncos aren't going to be in 4 wide for they'll I'm sure they'll show it, and that'll be it. We're not gonna. That's not gonna be how they operate as an offense. Also, I believe Bo Nix led the NFL in pass attempts last year without reaching 4,000 yards. Getting the ball in the air was not a problem, and I suppose there is a numbers problem for this receiving core right now with Waddle in the mix. But at end of the day, this is just really rough news for if you bought the stories last year about Sean Payton comparing Pat Bryant to Michael Thomas or whatever, this is a tough scene for Troy Franklin and Pat Bryant. I don't think this offense and this quarterback can support 3 or 4 viable fantasy wide receivers.
No. And one's opinion about Sutton and Waddle is what it is and shouldn't. I think what we're learning is the Broncos are just not a team to be taking the clicks on.
Yeah.
This unless someone gets hurt and then it matters. I think otherwise we probably can move on. And we're going to say some similar stuff about the Chargers, to be honest. We literally just Monday, talked on the Yacht Club about Keaton Mitchell as a player you're interested in, kind of as a negative reaction to the Omarion Hampton hype. And we can talk a little bit about that because I don't want that opinion to get lost only to subscribers. But I do think, again, barring injury, I don't know that I can see a lot of stories about that backfield and suddenly decide, you know what, I need to back off on Keaton Mitchell. This Omarion Hampton stuff is real. Your opinion is going to be, we might be wrong. We're sharing this opinion as well. We might be wrong, but I don't think we're going to know we're wrong until week 1.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think the legitimate big variable there is actually how much they ask, if anything, of Kamani Vidal. And that's probably what, if you're all in on Omarion Hampton, that's probably what you should be looking for, because Keaton Mitchell's going to play. They were, he already sounds like a pet player for Mike McDaniel. He seems perfect for Mike McDaniel. Keaton Mitchell's going to play. He's good. He's also not so, he's one of those bird bone guys who is just simply not going to, he's never going to be the featured runner. But you're gonna bring him on every 4th series, something like that, right? He's super explosive. He hits the line hard. Yeah, go ahead.
I don't think I've ever referred to him as bird boned, but it's perfect. He's got little hollow bones. It's not just tiny bones. It's perfect.
He's made for flight. Yeah. And we're just I don't know what the percentage is going to be. Is it 20% of the snaps for Keaton Mitchell? He's no threat as taking over the backfield. Nobody's suggesting that, but he gets a slice. He definitely gets a slice. And I don't think that Omarion Hampton is so good, so just undeniable that he can just keep giving away slices. I think he needs all of the rest of the work. And but I also don't think we're going to learn much of anything in training camp that tells us, oh yeah, Kamani Vidal, huge part of this offense.
That's the problem. Is basically, I just think if people are listening to our podcast universe and are wanting to adhere to the way we're thinking about the Chargers backfield, they are simply not going to be drafting Omarion Hampton in the Am I right? You told me on Monday, second round. Is that right?
Yeah, I was just looking at NFC drafts too. He is also the RB8. I wrote about it in The Athletic. Like everybody getting drafted around him on either side of him is if they stay healthy, they are just a near lock for like 1,400 total yards, 10, 12 touchdowns. That's what they do. It's Saquon. It's, Etienne is right in front of him. It's Kenneth Walker. Derrick Henry goes several picks after. Like, he's in a range where those guys are like made men. They are, some of them have really rare traits, and Omarion Hampton's right in the middle of it. So we're setting the bar pretty high.
So the bottom line is another situation that we're probably just not that interested in. Yeah. I guess unless there's a negative drumbeat of some kind, unless there's I don't think you all realize how much we think as a Chargers beat Borg, we really believe Omarion Hampton's the 40% guy, Keaton Mitchell's the 25% guy, and whatever percentage there is left for Kamadi Vidal. But even then, I just don't know. Well, first of all, that's not going to affect our ranks because we already have Hampton much lower than where he's going. And second of all, I don't really picture Keaton Mitchell. Put this way, if we wake up and it's week 8 and we're regularly ranking Keaton Mitchell as a fantasy flex, that's believable. It requires the Charger offense to become the Dolphins of the peak Devon Achane, Raheem Mostert.
Yeah.
Like, it could happen, and that's a reason to draft Keaton Mitchell because he's cheap, free, whatever. And Mike McDaniel's standing right there, and we like Justin Herbert. And if that line, you can tell yourself that story, and when you get the possibility to get a free player, sure. But like you said, that does not, just because we're down on Hampton compared to the market doesn't mean we don't think he's the most valuable Charger running back. I think we both do, very clearly.
Yeah, I do.
And it doesn't mean that he can't be really good and live up to the second round billing. It's just you're not building any downside into that rank.
Yes, that's exactly how I feel. And to your point, I'll just underscore it. There is certainly a world in which the Chargers just become one of the absolute right answers in fantasy football, right? The line stays healthy. Herbert is well protected. Hampton gets a free run at the line of scrimmage on every carry, in which case, he can do some things. He can really do some damage. And then all of a sudden, this is a team that's averaging 28, 30 points a game. Okay, now it would be difficult for a healthy Omarion Hampton to not score a dozen touchdowns, right? Like that's the path that I can easily imagine for this team. But again, that requires some very unchargerly things. like good luck in terms of injuries, and it's just whatever. But it's the NFL. It can happen. They seem like one of those teams that's one of the likelier candidates to level up as an offense.
And yet, I just think, again, I think the regular listeners of this show for however many years you've been listening understand that when I think about this stuff. And the way you described it is perfect. There's so many guys who's, like, if you're going to do an expected value, an expected outcome of the guys anywhere near around Hampton in the second round of a fantasy draft, they don't have the downside, the healthy downside that Omarion Hampton has if everything's not perfect. If everything's perfect for Barkley, he's the MVP of the league. If everything's perfect for Achane, he does a 2,000-yard scrimmage season. If everything's perfect for Hampton, he could be the RB1 in fantasy. But if everything's as bad as it was for Barkley last year, Hampton could not be starting anymore. He's a completely unproven player. He got hurt last year and ran into a bunch of stuff. Like, there are real problems with that kid's film that I think you and I suspect may never actually, if you get the Jordan Howard season where he gets the massive workload and everything's working because, that great, cool, but you can't plan for that. You can't draft based on assuming only good things can happen. This is what makes people take Brock Bowers as the 9 pick overall, whatever. Yep. It's a thing, build into your expected value, some downside. I think we could be done with the Chargers, to be honest, because what else could, the receivers are what they are, and you kind of think of, I guess, Keenan Allen signs again. We are going to have a conversation, and we will. if that happens, and it could change our assessment of Lad McConkey. And I don't think we're ranking Quentin Johnston like a we want to draft kind of player. David Njoku threatening Oronde Gadsden as a sleeper. I just maybe, but I can't believe I'm going to learn anything. I have Gadsden ranked, I can't remember, 11, 13. As a maybe. He's a maybe in that range, maybe. But I can't imagine I'm going to learn enough in training camp to go, I got to back off of that. He's 26. He and Njoku are side by side. Like, do you agree with that?
Yeah, it would certainly be reassuring, I suppose, if we just get a steady, every day we hear about the Herbert Gadsden connection, I guess. But even then, that's usually,
Fluff,
that's usually just a little bit of, that's just the usual camp sunshine that we should expect. I do think that David Njoku at this point, not obviously not good enough, not important enough to be a draftable tight end, to be somebody that you're even thinking of as somebody who could squeeze his way into the top 8, top 10, whatever. But I do think he's probably still good enough to muck things up for somebody else. Mm-hmm. So it's a problem for Oronde Gadsden.
It's a potential problem, but I have him 13. I just looked it up because I'm so familiar with my ranks. That is to say Gadsden, and I have Njoku 31. Old fire pit. David Njoku. Did he get art in the Almanac? He did. The nickname is too good. That's a Cousin Josh original, calling him Fire Pit. Going to a fire pit, that sounds so amazing. And you get there and 5 minutes in, you're like, yeah, this kind of sucks. That's David Njoku. That's what it's like to have David Njoku on it. And I loved how when the Browns took your boy, Harold Fannin, and that was a great call, and you were correct, people were like, well, he's going to have to fight Njoku forever because you can't take that cap hit. And 1 year later, Njoku's like, wait, come back. The salary cap is very, very fake. All right, we can move on to the Kansas City Chiefs and maybe the most important storyline in the NFL, not in fantasy, but in the NFL. If you want to handicap a Super Bowl winner and you want the Chiefs to be that part of that conversation, oh boy, what Patrick Mahomes winds up looking like really, really matters. Already, we're getting nothing but ahead of schedule reports. Can you believe them? Can anyone believe these reports? They could be true, but I'm old enough to remember the Tom Brady reports in 2009. And they were all perfectly glowing, and he's going to be perfect and wonderful. And that year, he just wasn't. And running was less of a part of his game than Patrick Mahomes. I just have a hard time imagining that I personally will be able to swallow any of that fluff.
Yeah, they've clearly messaged through Ian Rappaport, through the main channels. They've already messaged, he looking good for opening week. And to Patrick Mahomes' credit, I guess, he was active during OTAs. We saw that. These are all good signs. As long as he's not taken 2-3 days a week off during camp, if he's legitimately actually a full go and out there all the time and doesn't need a whole bunch of rest days, all that. The Chiefs have also played him in the preseason before. That would be, I don't know, if he's on his normal routine, then he's probably going to get a few series in the preseason. These are all context clues that would help you feel, I guess, a little bit more confident about Mahomes. You mentioned him as a runner. Clearly, running is a component of his game. He's also, he's funny when he runs. He's a genius too. So he sees the field and he sort of sees the game board better than anybody else. I think playing the game right now, and he, obviously he picks and chooses his spots to actively run. He eats up the space in front of him. If you give it to him, he's great at it. But he also takes 6 seconds to run 20 yards. It's not like he's burning down the field. But mobility in the pocket is obviously going to be an issue, and just comfort level is going to be an issue, because when you're rehabbing, you're not doing all the other things that you would normally do in an off season. So it is a legitimate concern. Slow start is a legitimate concern. But I just don't know how we're going to answer that in training camp, other than he's active every day.
What if he has abs now?
Oh, gross.
What if
That's not the Patrick Mahomes I grew up with, Stinky.
Yeah, there's an interesting meta conversation to be had about the Brady Mahomes comparison and how their knee injuries kind of came along at roughly the same time, at roughly the same, the success level very early in the career, and then a little frustration, and then the injury, and then what happens next is an open. Tom Brady was always very disciplined with his body, but became avocado ice cream psychotic in the second half of his career. And that was the only way the guy played as long as he played. Like, we're learning that's impossible for anybody except for somebody who does that. And Patrick Mahomes, has never been in shape, let alone really worked hard. But I wonder if maybe this is a wake-up call. Not that this happened because of his lack of being in shape, but he's going to have to get in better shape. So you have him, I believe, QB 12 going into drafts right now. I have him QB 13. We both, of course, understand that we are potentially missing out on him being either fine or 95% of fine, and that therefore dramatically outplaying that rank. Is that, given what you just said, I think you're telling me he's not going any higher than QB 12.
Yeah, I can't, can I imagine him bubbling up my draft board? No, not really. I'm not gonna assume that he is full vintage Patrick Mahomes opening week. Also, this team has been a pretty middle of the pack offense for the last 2 years. They're a little bit, but we've talked about that. They were a little bit better than that prior to Mahomes' injury last season, but they have not been. We haven't seen like the 5,000 passing yard version of Patrick Mahomes in a minute. So I don't think that guy is walking through the door. I mean, they don't have the receiving core to support it either.
We are sponsored by AG1. I drink AG1 every morning. I've already had it this morning. It's the first thing I get into my tummy. I put the powder in the water. I drink it down. I have ditched my multivitamin. AG1 is just great. I talk about my stomach a lot. It's a little fidgety. All I know is the daily habit of getting the AG1 prebiotic and the probiotic and the vitamins and antioxidants and superfoods in there, 75 ingredients. It turbocharges me at the gym. And really, just with AG1 as a daily habit, my stomach is way calmer. Visit drinkag1.com/Harris to get a free AG1 travel case with 7 free AG1 travel packs in your welcome kit with your first AG1 subscription order while supplies last. It is a micro habit I have found really makes a difference. Less than the price of a cup of coffee per day. Takes less than a minute. I think you will notice a difference. Give it a shot. That's drinkag1.com/Harris. We're back with Andy. We have some more Chiefs topics to get to. Kenneth Walker, an exciting, fun new player with Kansas City. I can't imagine, unless you object, I can't imagine anything really happening in the media with Kenneth Walker that changes, barring injury. Like, I have him ranked, kind of aggressively, but not. I'm not going wild and crazy. But I don't think the market's going to go wild and crazy on him either. Do you?
It's not. He's another guy going later than Omarion Hampton, and he was coming off quite a heater at the most important in the most important weeks of last season. Like, that's a really good player to be taking after Omarion Hampton. I don't think there's a lot here as long as we just need him to stay healthy, and maybe we need to figure out who the direct backup is. Maybe Emmett Johnson needs to win that job. Maybe you care about that, but I think we know what Kenneth Walker is going to be, and he's really good.
Yeah, he's a very good player. You have him RB8. I have him RB12. Kenny Three Sticks. We call him now because he wears the thing. I kind of don't even care who the backup is because I know Walker is probably not a huge high receiving volume guy, reception guy, and if he is, I don't think whoever the backup was the reason. They either decided to do it or not, and we're not going to really know that. But we're as we like to say, we're aligned. We're in alignment. So instead, let's talk Rashee Rice, because he had some form of knee procedure. They call it a cleanup. That's really easy to call it a cleanup when it's not your knee. And then he served jail time, and he's not apparently going to get a contract here headed into the last year of his rookie deal. And like, I guess he just has to kind of eat that poop sandwich because what choice really does he have? I think he probably understands why the Chiefs don't want to give him a ton of money guaranteed. So if he's good this year, he probably gets tagged and goes through all that nonsense next year. Maybe it's like it's his health and how much or little he's out there in August, and then also Mahomes' health that we just spent a good amount of time on. Other than those two things, do you feel like you can learn anything else about Rice and or your assessment of him? Like, can you say, oh boy, I really had to raise him 10 spots, or I really had to lower him 5 because I found out they're doing X?
Yeah, I mean, this is a perfect example of a player where the ideal summer for Rashee Rice is that I do not hear a single thing about him, and there's no new item on his like news and notes page, right? I don't want to hear that he drove 45 in a school zone. I don't want to hear that he got fined by the homeowners association because his grass was too tall. I don't want to hear a thing about Rashee Rice. I want to know that he's practicing and he's functional and healthy, and any note is a bad note in my view. Like there's downward mobility, there's not a lot of upward mobility.
I know it's hard to quantify because it will come from some knuckleheaded behavior probably, but it probably isn't anything football that you get like a beat reporter gets a real scoop that Rashee Rice isn't practicing with the goal line offense. So, something like that's not going to be the thing, because you have him. I have him 18, you have him 12. The wide receiver is so stupidly flat that's actually not a giant difference. I don't. I had him higher, and actually it was the knee procedure that made it took a little bit of the edge off. I'm a little concerned about that, but not enough. I was top 20 still. I don't know how it's going to shake out. I assume any of you don't have room for an upgrade. I know that, but your downgrade that could happen in August probably isn't even a training camp story. It's probably not even a football story.
It's probably not even a football story. It could be. He's missing time. Rashee Rice needs to take a week off. Rashee Rice needs to take 2 weeks off.
It's a health. Yeah, that would be. I've made a false distinction because you're right. That of course is a football story. But if we were going to categorize 3 categories of story: football stuff, health stuff, and HOA stuff, you probably only the second and third categories could downgrade Rice for you.
Yep. Right. Correct.
Okay. All right. Raiders. So, something I find myself saying a lot on these preview shows, these July shows, is I am predisposed to want players from the hopeless offenses that can't possibly succeed because they succeed sometimes, and they're real cheap. So when I read a blurb that Mike Washington occasionally got first team reps and OTAs, I couldn't even get through the sentence without laughing. I don't care about that per se, but and plus, like, unfortunately, Ashton Jeanty won't. Whatever downgrade everybody's going to give every other Raider, Jeanty won't presumably be part of that downgrade. People are still going to want Ashton Jeanty, just as probably they're going to want Devon Achane on the Dolphins. So like it's
a funny team in that respect, because like there are plenty of these offenses where, who knows, maybe there'll be something, maybe they won't, but everybody's down on the Browns, and you can get any Brown for really cheap. But like, I think we're all I don't know of anybody who's particularly optimistic about the Raiders offense this season, and yet the two obviously very good players are absolutely top of the market. Like,
that's not tough.
Jeanty's not cheap, and Bowers is certainly not cheap.
Yeah, I mean, no one who wants to adhere to yours and my drafting philosophy is going to have Brock Bowers. No question about that. They might have Jeanty. I think we're both ranking Jeanty as a top 10 running back, aren't we? I think you have him 7. I'm looking, and I have him 8. So we understand. We're probably willing to pay that price, and it's just going to depend if the market. I mean, I'm discovering after we did the Dolphins division last week. Was it last week? Yeah. I'm discovering I might be in on Achane. That's a really weird place for me to be, considering I've been wrongly negative on Achane for a while. Incorrect, like blasted. Absolutely, he chunked me. But that's one where I guess Actually, I don't know what the logic is. I don't know what the logic is that you're willing to believe in Jeanty and pay him at the top of his market, and you're letting Achane slip around from that same spot. That's surprising to me. Achane's the one who's proved it.
Yeah, I think Achane has proved it on the field, and you must be someone who thinks Mike McDaniel is gone, and with him goes the magic. I don't know really. I don't think that Achane was entirely a creation of Mike McDaniel. I mean, he held up under that workload, and that is an explosive playmaker.
Yeah, in a way that Jeanty very clearly is not. I think Jeanty again did a film futures like him. I think his elusiveness is really good, and I actually think we were oversold power. I don't really think he's a power back, but his long speed isn't Jeanty's. I mean, in the Almanac, I gave Jeanty a B for speed, an A- for elusiveness, and a C+ for power. Achane gets a D for power because he's the size of one of my legs, but speed A+, elusiveness A+, best in the league, just about at the position.
Yeah.
I don't know. Given that, are people out there really clamoring that the Raiders are going to be like really better than the Dolphins, and I'm positive of it, and I'm willing to make massive fantasy bets on it? Wow, that's really interesting. Anyway, like you said, Jeanty, probably the assessment is what it is. You're not going to learn too much about Mike Washington that's going to change your opinion on Jeanty. The passing game has unknowns, and were it to become functional, I love the idea of taking a shot on someone if I could believe on that someone and get him for free. That would be amazing. My guess is that none of those wideouts, Bowers will get drafted high, but none of those wideouts maybe get drafted at all. I don't know. Would you say that like the Cousins Mendoza question, the rotation of who among these Raider receivers, how that reporting goes, is all that fluid enough for you to say, yes, this is, I want to click on each day's update about that passing game?
Yeah, I think the Raiders have done, I assume that this is they may not, it may not be honest, but the Raiders are rolling with a story that like, we want Kirk Cousins to be the quarterback for the full season. Like, again, this is another one that like national mouthpieces are already talking about it. And I'm sure what the Raiders would really want is for Fernando Mendoza to come into camp and just absolutely light it up and force his way into the conversation immediately because you just spent the first overall pick on him. Like, that's what you want for, the number one pick in the draft. That would be ideal. But they're doing a nice job doing all they can to set up a situation in which we're not daily saying, okay, who won Tuesday's quarterback competition? Who won Wednesday's quarterback competition? Thursdays, right? Like, they're just saying, we hope Kirk Cousins finishes the season as our quarterback. Now, the reality, maybe the Raiders are 2-5, and Kirk Cousins is coming off one of those 16 for 30 for 155 yards and no scores kind of games, right? Like, if Mendoza can have a great camp, can have a great preseason, and force his way. Jackson Dart forced his way into the starting equation for the Giants last year. There's no reason that Fernando Mendoza, the number one overall pick, can't do it for the Raiders. I love, by the way, this is entirely separate. I love that when you search just a simple internet search for Fernando Mendoza, I love that his LinkedIn profile comes up as one of the top results. I love that he has one.
Yeah, there's absolutely no way Kirk Cousins is starting the whole year. That is obviously state media lies that, you have to really sell a piece of your soul if you want to go on national TV and parrot that talking point. You've said the name of one of such people who does that. We're friends with other people who do. Bless their hearts. It's not something I want to do. I think I just lived this movie in Atlanta when Kirk Cousins was going to keep that job all year. The only question is it October? It doesn't matter for fantasy for the purposes of them, except in a super flex, and even then, good luck. Please don't go 0 QB to the level that you have to rely on a Raiders quarterback. But if the question is about the wide receivers, though, and how another thing they've done is basically to say nobody has anything coming to them in our wide receiver core, and it's all going to get laid out on the field I think like I'm compiling a list of things that tracking every day doesn't mean that you're succumbing to clickbait. And I think I would love for one Raider receiver, if it's, Trey Tucker. I always want to call him Trey Turner. Trey Tucker. Boy, I don't know about Jalen Nailor, but okay, if you want to tell me Jalen Nailor, if you want to tell me Jack Bech, if someone could become like undeniable in camp, I actually could find my way into believing it, because in the end it would wind up costing me a 10th round pick.
Right, exactly. Now, I'm not going to believe it, If I'm just hearing, oh wow, the Kirk Cousins Jalen Nailor connection is back, I'm not. You're not going to be able to sell that to me. I don't think that's really happening. I'm a little more open with, Tucker. I've seen make some. Tucker's a weird player. It always looks a little sloppy, and he kind of double catches some balls. But he can make big plays. Like I've seen that. Fast. I've seen Trey Tucker. Yeah. Like I've seen traits with Trey Tucker that make me pretty interested. I can imagine a guy like that leveling up. Jack Bech is somebody who came into the league with the Matt Harmon seal of approval. I don't want to speak for Matt today. I don't know if he feels any differently about him now, but he was pretty intrigued when he came into the league. So I'll keep an open mind with him. If he for some reason gets buzzy in camp, if Tucker gets buzzy in camp, I'll be a little bit more interested. But I don't think you're going to be able to fool me with Jalen Nailor.
Yeah, I did write a profile for all three. I got them inside my top 80, but the weird thing about Nailor is how much the mouthpieces were told to repeat the talking point about how much the Raiders really wanted him, and he enters as he's the presumptive one until proven otherwise. And people are really underrating how good he was. He was just trapped behind two guys in Minnesota. And I go, maybe. I've been wrong about a lot of things in my time. We're wrong about things all the time. I don't know. I guess it's possible, but I did go back and try to watch. I didn't try to watch. I was actually able to call up his plays. They existed on film, but I don't think he's fast. He did do a couple good things in the end zone. If the Vikings really thought they had something in Jalen Nailor, did they spend a first round pick on Jordan Addison? Right. Wasn't Addison suspended for the beginning of last year? Wasn't that a chance for Jalen Nailor? I just feel like it is the curse of being 27 and not being 23 or whatever. But sorry, buddy, you've already had your chance to impress me. I guess if you just turn into you left the Vikings and became Randy Moss, then I'm gonna miss it, and that's too bad. But I don't think it's going to happen, as you say. But I think because the Raiders, other than Bowers and Jeanty, will get thrown in the category of, but that offense is probably going to be pretty bad. If it turns out just not that bad and Mendoza wins, I think I'm more interested if Mendoza wins the job or gets closer to winning the job, because I know what late career Kirk Cousins, late career Kirk Cousins is good. When everybody else is hurt, he can turn Kyle Pitts into a millionaire. Congratulations, trying to prove you could stay in the league. You kept the Kyle Pitts dream alive for a couple more years for people to get fooled by. But probably better for the overall offense to become a wagon if it's someone else. So sure, I would
if Mendoza wins the job, it is. That it's because he did something pretty sensational in camp, right? It could also be because Kirk Cousins further disintegrates, I suppose. But he will have done enough in camp and in the preseason to really impress people who are clearly at least open to the idea of starting Kirk Cousins for a chunk of the season.
Now, whether you or I consider that to be likely, given what we know about him as a prospect, I don't know. That's the comp I gave him in the Almanac. Mendoza was Jared Goff, and maybe that's even a little aggressive. But it's funny how. It's not funny. It's entirely predictable. We go through the NFL draft cycle, and it always starts with college football experts who don't really do the draft saying, gee, guys, there really isn't a top quarterback this year. It's almost Mendoza by default. And then by the end of the process, it's like franchise savior Fernando Mendoza. He pretty clearly, I'm not the guy, but I've read enough about him to write a profile. He pretty clearly an option guy and a half-field Reed kind of guy. Like, if you love immobile Jalen Hurts, you're going to love this guy. It feels like there's a long way to go.
Yeah, I think that's probably right. Obviously, the guy is also the author of an iconic play, and it was a charmed season. It was there are some great throws in there. There are some great moments in there. One of the things that my shorthand when I look at a lot of prospects is to watch the games against the best defenses that they played, and he was not great when they faced like meat grinder defenses. We'll see. I mean, it was an incredible season that he's coming off, and I'm all for the league having more great quarterbacks, so I hope it works.
Me too, and I don't mean to express absolute utter doubt. Joe Burrow was an absolute non-prospect for the NFL until one unbelievable year when he suddenly was proven to be like kind of another level of winner, and he's one of my favorite players in the league now, So like if Mendoza led what is, let's face it, the greatest college season of our lifetimes, the most unexpected, the most fun, the craziest for neutrals like us. I don't care. I mean, I guess you're a little less of a neutral because you have the Iowa thing going on, but even then you must have been like, this is a blast. And And like, I would love it if in terms of what he'd been asked to do and obvious traits and stuff like that, but there's something you can't measure until they get in the NFL, which is like, can they do the Brady thing? Can they do the Burrow thing? Joe Burrow didn't come into the league with a cannon. He doesn't have a cannon. Joe Burrow's he's got Duende. He's got that thing, but he doesn't have by NFL standards, doesn't have a cannon. And so anyway, I agreed. That was my way of saying here. It would be awesome if Mendoza is awesome. And plus it would make us, if you start hearing those things like this is undeniable, it would make us take note of whoever could win that receiver battle. So that would be pretty fun. All right. Well, very good, Pooh. I'm glad you came aboard. You really restrained yourself, because I know Paywall Andy just can't stop with the expletives. But here aboard the free side. You did an amazing job. You can find Andy's work at thedeepshot.com. Become a subscriber to the Yacht Club. It comes with a subscription to the Deep Shot. You'll automatically get access to everything Andy writes for the upcoming season. And I will talk to you on the Monday Yacht Club show.
Goodbye, everyone. Goodbye, Stinky.
And thank you so much for listening. I'm sure the sponsors are thrilled to hear me referred to as Stinky. Let's thank them, because without them, we don't get to make a show. We had Z-Biotics, Viore, and AG1. And you can find information about all three of them in today's show notes or at harrisfootball.com. All the current sponsors are listed there. And not everybody needs all of those things all at once. And some people listening are like, I don't really have the disposable income to be supporting sponsors right now. And that is so fine. If you ever do, I'm so lucky that you obviously have supported these particular three sponsors because they keep coming back, and I really do appreciate that. Those are three that they're everyday. Well, Z-Biotics not everyday occurrence because it's when I drink alcohol, though. Every time I drink alcohol, for sure, I have it on hand at all times. And Viore and AG1 are definitely an all day, everyday kind of things for me. So that's going to do it for this week, for this episode. As I mentioned with Andy, we have our final Yacht Club Monday show next week. I believe Andy the topic is going to be 5 players he expects to get ridiculous helium in training camp. So, we'll partly have talked about that a little bit over the course of these 8 divisional shows, but this is Andy kind of boiling it down and picking out some funny, stupid things that he thinks are likely to happen and make the market be crazy. So if you're in the Yacht Club, you'll hear that one on Monday. Then on Tuesday, we're going to continue the training camp previews. Training camps will be, I think, largely open at that point. His name is not Eric Jefferson. He doesn't even answer to it. I've tried. It is, in fact, Jeff Erickson, who will be the guest on Tuesday, so you'll get to hear that great show here on the main program. Until then, thanks again so much for listening. Your hat is awesome. You're awesome for wearing it. I will talk to you next time.
The Harris Football Podcast's opening theme is Under the Gun by Apex Manor. The closing theme is Say Yes by The Wellspring. Subscribe to the podcast on iTunes and never miss an episode.